we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. April 2016 meeting of the Visual Resources Review Board for the town of Farragut. First item on the agenda is to approval of minutes for the March 22nd, 2016 meeting. Do we have any discussion of those minutes? Okay. No discussion. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. The next item, we had a few wall signs that were approved between the last meeting and tonight. Do we have any comments related to the wall signs? Any questions from anybody on the board?
No comments from me, unless you all have a question about any of those. I think there was 6.
I have one question about the Wine into Water Bistro.
Yes.
I saw some of the comments for the ground-mounted sign. Does it have the bistro and lounge on that sign as well? I didn't have a...
If it does have that lettering on the wall sign, but I'm not positive about it, but I'm pretty sure it does.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move forward to the ground-mounted sign applications. The first one on the agenda is Water into Wine Bistro. Is anyone here for Water into Wine? No? Broadway Shoes? No? Allstate? Staybridge? Staybridge.
Oh, wow.
You get to be first.
Staybridge first.
She's like, yay, I don't have to sit through the whole 2 hours probably.
Well, this request is, as you all know, Staybridge was constructed a little over a year ago on Campbell Lakes Drive at the very end, and there's a provision in our sign ordinance to allow for off-premise directional signs for basically interstate-oriented businesses, so that people that aren't familiar with the town can better find where they're going, if it's gas, food, and lodging type establishments. So we have these, what we call directional trailblazer signs that are 18 by 24 that we already, we have some that are already out installed for other hotels. This is the sign at Parkside Drive and Lakes Edge for Hampton Inn. Staybridge would be requesting to add basically the same size panel below that to direct people off of Parkside Drive, to their facility on Campbell Lakes. Again, that's what their logo would look like on the sign. They're also requesting a second sign along North Campbell Station Road on the west side of Campbell Station Road, so that if you're coming off the interstate and you're looking for Staybridge, there'll be a directional sign that would point to the east before you get to Campbell Lakes Drive to alert you to the fact that you need to make a left to get onto Campbell Lakes Drive if you're trying to find Staybridge. So on that sign, it would be a completely new sign. Both signs are in the town's right-of-way, so the town would actually install the sign posts, and I think their desire was to put the sign somewhere, on that Dunkin' Donuts property to give you enough notice so that if you were going to make a left turn, you could get in the proper turn lane and be able to turn on Campbell Lakes before you passed it up. So the other location would be on the Exxon property, just to the north or the south side of Campbell Lakes Drive. But probably for the notification purpose, it probably makes more sense to have it on the north side of that driveway so that you do have enough time to make a turn on the Campbell Lakes. So that's all that they're requesting here. And once these signs are installed, they basically pay an annual maintenance fee to the town to allow them to stay up. So we basically maintain the post and, you know, if anything happens to the sign and that kind of stuff.
Will it also include a mileage sign, just
Yeah,
like that
I
one?
think they normally do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it as you come off the
Like
exit?
this.
One of them is, no, one of them is as you come off the exit, because the idea is you're targeting the interstate traveler that's not
Okay.
familiar with the town, so that they can find.
Okay.
Yeah. The only reason
And
we got it on
Just
Park.
like this, except for it'll say State Bridge. It'll have the mileage there too,
Coming off
like
the
with
interstate.
an
Yeah.
arrow pointing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And again, we would pick out where to place the
I
sign
was
since it's
wondering,
in
you
the
said Dunkin'
town's right of
Donuts,
way.
that would be,
You'd already be past it, wouldn't you? Or almost.
We just figure out where it makes the most sense and,
Yes,
you know,
'cause
work
I
with
think that would be a
State
little-
Bridge. Yeah. You wouldn't want to put it too
No.
far south because then you've already passed it up, so.
But we don't need to approve it being at Dunkin' Donuts. We need to approve it being on that side of the road. Okay.
Just one that's facing, you know, on North Campbell Station Road.
We'll decide what works out best.
Yeah,
Do we need to do two separate approvals?
Yeah, let's do two if you don't mind.
Okay, so the first one then we're talking about will be within Turkey Creek itself on Parkside Drive. So let's approve that one first, and that'll be on the same sign as the Hampton Inn. Is it on that same pole?
It'll be on the same
that's what I was
post.
gonna ask you, so just below that, it'll be just below, okay.
Yeah, it'll be right below
All
it.
right,
yeah.
so do we have a motion on sign number 1 on Parkside Drive?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the second sign will be on North Campbell Station Road, placement to be determined by the town staff in conjunction with Staybridge Suites. So will you have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion to approve that like you said it.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
You're one of the lucky ones tonight. Bye, have a good night.
Anyone here from McKinley?
Oh, good.
We'll do McKinley subdivision.
This is the new subdivision on Everett Road. Of course, Everett Road's under construction right now, so it's kind of hard to get to this point. But basically, they're proposing, you know, a couple of entrance columns and nice landscaping there for their subdivision entrance. That's basically what the columns would look like. There's the accent wall and the signage column, and then the landscape plan.
Back that up,
Packet.
please, just for a second.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a nice looking entrance. As with any of these type of signs and structures, we would you know, require the placement to be verified with the town, you know, on setbacks. And then if there any external lighting would need to be approved through the town staff, you know, so that we can check that. But whoops. But other than that, the staff recommends approval of the sign subject to those two conditions.
I'm just curious, because I live in Fox Run, which is off Everett Road. How far down from Fox Run is that? Is it on the right or left? So you're before split rail?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Split rail? You are.
Pretty much,
So-
yeah. You know Dr. Montgomery's property?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is it Mr. Dr. Montgomery's?
Just in front of his on
Okay.
Everett Road, yeah.
That's exciting.
Well, yeah, part of it's, yeah.
So this we have is the same as what you showed us? Because it looked different on your papers. I told you to back it up. I guess it's because.
A little darker on the screen.
Yeah, probably the print's
Yeah.
is different, but it's basically the same. Mm-hmm.
So what do we just need to approve the sign or
Yes.
right here?
Just approving the sign.
Signage and the entrance structures, which is part of the signage, yeah.
You have on here, subject to verification of lighting. Are you just talking about the lighting on top, or are you talking about lighting elsewhere?
Any lighting related to the sign, yeah, we would need to make sure that it's compliant.
On top, and then
Yeah.
like the things, the floor, the ground lighting also, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's what,
Yeah,
is that what this
discuss
other
that.
sheet is about?
Spec sheet is for that ground light.
Right, yeah. Those are standard conditions on these type signs, so.
But the ground sign, the ground light will just shine on the sign, up and on the sign.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're wanting to do more like on the column wall or not, but definitely on the McKinley Station lettering, just kind of a soft uplight against the column, which would kind of illuminate upward to the sign itself.
Well, it looks pretty nice to me.
As you can see, the upper lantern, it does say that that's frosted, which is required if you're going to have it to where the bulb is not concealed up in the fixture head, then it does have to be frosted lens. Basically, the town just doesn't want to see a light bulb on external lighting. It needs to be concealed either by the bulb structure, the housing of the fixture, or it needs to have lenses that are frosted so that you can't see it.
I see this is, it's a good target practice for a lot of young kids.
Oh, they already did our subdivision.
So that's the only thing that, that's just, it's beautiful, but I wonder how long it's gonna stay there without you having to.
Order a couple extras.
All right, is there any further discussion on this? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Subject to the lighting, is that, and the yes, and the setback. I've got it.
Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
I think that is so pretty.
Marked. Usually they'll.
Have one of those on my mailbox.
Production truck, take it out.
All right.
All right, Little Turkey Creek Commons, Blockbuster, First Baptist Concord. Woo-hoo.
Is somebody behind?
You want to knock out, okay, well, yeah, her signs, I guess, before we get to the text
Is
amendment.
she with, are you with Concord too? Oh, both of you are.
She's here with the O'Reilly's landscape plan. If you
Landscape
wanna
plan.
Knock that out real quick.
Is that all right with you if we go ahead and do O'Reilly's and then take care of all yours?
Well, with you.
Okay. Move on up to O'Reilly then, and
All right, let's see.
On,
This is the, used to be an old automotive service station, hasn't been used in forever. And they're totally redeveloping this site. This is at the east intersection of Thornton Drive and Kingston Pike. The landscape plan is there before you. This building and site had to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals for a variance for grading in the buffer strip, just some minor grading in a small section of the buffer strip. And the Board of Zoning Appeals conditioned that approval on planting the 35-foot buffer strip along the south part of the property, which is I think it's pretty apparent with this, but this area here, that to a 35-foot buffer strip plant count requirement, it is now planted to the requirement of a 50-foot wide buffer strip, so it's got more plant material in there. They're also saving a couple of large existing trees that are in that buffer. There's a really large silver maple about right there, and a large red cedar.
There's a house right behind there, right?
Yeah, there's a house right over here. So, but yeah, that was a big condition. Another thing that we're looking at now that you all are involved with, kind of jointly with the Planning Commission, is screening parking lots and looking at using landscaping to help with that. So there's a lot of landscaping, more than you would typically see along Kingston Pike, to help soften the appearance of the parking as you're driving along Kingston Pike. They also are, since y'all deal with signage, they are removing a large billboard that's approximately in this area as part of this project. So it's a very good landscape plan. We only had a couple of very minor comments that was mentioned in the packet, and subject to those comments being addressed, the staff recommends approval of the landscape plan.
There. That's been an eyesore.
It's going to be a
since I
very
moved here.
nice looking building too. It's about 80% brick, I think. Is that what it was? Yeah, very nice looking building. Mm-hmm. The detention is underground, so they don't have a detention basin above ground.
Kind of hard to read some of the stuff on here, but what are the material that are out near Kingston Pike? Some of the things.
There's Ollie Elm and some Laura Petulum, I believe. Let me see if I think there's a plant list in here. Let's see if I can. Yeah, here we go. Well, that's a blown up version of the plant list, and yeah, Laura Petulum. Some hollies out there, so you got a good mix of green and
Evergreen.
burgundy. They're both evergreen, and again, I think there was the Ollie Elm. It's out there too along Kingston Pike.
that's, well, like seasonal, it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't.
It's deciduous, yeah. It's a native, yeah. Yep. So yeah, good. I mean, black haw viburnum, that's a good choice. We don't see that very often, but it should be used more often. It's a really good plant. It's a good plan. Yeah, did a good job. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? I can't read that either, but
Always the threes, the fives.
I've got
and the
the
sevens.
large version of the
That's
plan
fine, we
here if
got it.
anybody wants to look at it.
Like it's going to be a nice.
It's gonna be pretty, a lot better than
Fine.
what,
I've been here 10 years and that,
I know. It's nice to see something
yeah.
green.
Are you the one that did that, devised it?
Very good. You chose all of the plants and everything?
Very nice.
Just,
All right, well, is there any further discussion? Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion. We accept it as it's drawn here. It looks good.
Subject to
With the
those
subject to
three
those.
items.
those
and-
three,
yeah.
Right.
All right, do we have a second?
second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Uh-huh. Oh, so she's gonna be staying here for this?
Didn't want to abandon her.
Oh, so we want to get her part over with so she can leave? And then you're just gonna be the one that's gonna be here in the corner.
To the ground-mounted signs for Concord Baptist then.
Okay.
All right, so we're backing up to item H, which is First Baptist, the first of the
Illuminated
ground-mounted
ground-mounted
signs for
sign.
First Baptist Concord.
Okay, I've got to get my. We need to start having some numbers on these papers because it's hard to read.
Oh, they
I mean,
can't hear you on Well, as far as the ground-mounted signs, they're requesting three, all of which are allowed in the sign ordinance. One, the east entrance, 18 square feet. We can and we'll need to consider these separately. And I think that's the east entrance. So maybe we should just take a vote on these as we go through them to keep it organized. But this one is the one that's on the east end, closest to obviously the school portion of the campus. So you might have any questions or comments on that sign?
I have one question about the illumination. The letters will be vinyl, but will they be, will you be able to see them?
I think
It's
they're
internal
internally
illumination.
illuminated. Yeah.
Yes.
So our copy is black and this is burgundy, right?
It is,
So
that one is burgundy. The
so
Concord
that's the-
Christian School is their school
That's their
color.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. It is their school colors, the
Yes.
burgundy and the white?
Yes.
Or, okay, it looks just like this?
It does.
The logo, okay. Because I wasn't too impressed with this part,
Yeah.
and it stands out a little better with
The
this.
church signs are color as well that you'll see when they go up there, or I guess on your screen.
Okay,
Have any questions on
so
this?
this goes on the east entrance.
Yeah. That is in the upper right corner. It's that site plan, the eastern entrance. This one here. We've got all three signs actually on this site plan sheet, which is fine, and each of them will be landscaped. I think there's a landscape plan in there too.
So the height of this sign is 36 inches.
Well,
And then you've got the base.
Okay, the base is.
Yes.
Overall,
Gets to 50. 52, okay. Got it. Okay. So the Concord lettering, so the Concord and Christian School together, you're saying is 14 inches. But the Concord itself will be big, I mean, it's 8 or
Yes.
9 or,
He doesn't have it on this sheet. He's just showing the total. We're working with a company out of Atlanta, and he's just showing the total lettering being the 14 inches high. But yes, the Concord is going to stand out and be larger than the Christian
because
school.
typically on Kingston Pike, you need
Yes,
It
the
to be-
Concord to be
yes,
at least 8, maybe 10 inches. Traffic zips through there.
yes,
And so that was the concern, that it'd be big enough for you to really be
correct.
seen as they.
And you'll see that in the church signs as well, because Concord is much bigger than church.
Okay. And then the Christian school itself, then their concern is that it's much smaller now. So is it only 4 inches or is it 6 inches? Because again, that will be hard to read as you're driving down Kingston Pike at the speeds traveled. If for instance, Concord's 10 and Christian School's 4, 4 is a little less than we would normally recommend
Gotcha.
in height for letters
Okay,
on Kingston Pike.
okay.
So that would be the concern, is to figure out
Is
exactly.
that Christian school would need to be larger, actually?
Yeah, that would really need to be larger in
Okay.
order to be seen. 6 at least, yeah.
Okay,
Well, and looking on
It's
here,
14. I was saying, well, if we bumped it up to 16 and made it 6 and 10.
Yeah, that'd probably help you a lot, from a visibility standpoint, as long as you can still fit it on there and make it legible.
right,
There's
right.
plenty of room on there.
Height-wise, length-wise. It looks like they can.
You could increase the lettering size without increasing the burgundy area. I mean,
Yeah.
you got a lot of kind of,
Wasted
But below
space,
the
or not wasted space, but
address,
space.
it says it's 4.5. So that
The
Christian.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that Christian school's smaller than
Right.
4.5. So
well, now
Yeah, and the
4.5.
4.5 was per the regulation.
The address numbers have to be 8 inches, so that'll need to be,
that'll have to
Oh, I
jump
thought
up as
they did
well.
that.
yeah,
correct.
all the address numbers have to be at least 8.
That was the biggest fight with them. They hate the fact that the number had to be on top, because they had all the numbers on the bottom.
Why did it, I mean, why don't
We
they
had
just-
to convince them, okay, I can't take it down there with the numbers on the bottom. They
Well,
have
every-
to be on top.
Yeah. I wish
Okay.
that they had it like really on top, you know.
And they have to
most-
be 8 inches,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they need to make that. But if they increase the lettering size, that'll probably balance it all out proportionally.
I mean, the numbers right now is going to double in size for the address. So that's going to double. And then we're talking Concord could probably stay the same size, and then the Christian school needs to be at least 6 inches.
And when you look at it that way, with the numbers being 4.5 or whatever, Christian school must be 3, maybe?
Small.
That would be hard to read coming down Kingston Pike.
Maybe I missed what you said in the beginning. Is this the logo for the school?
This is not their logo.
Okay.
These are their school colors. Their logo is a lion head, and
Okay.
you'll see that in a minute.
Okay. But the words Concord Christian School, this
Yes.
is not, is this the typeface or font that they use?
Yes, it is.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Base of that compatible with some building element on the campus? I meant it.
It's about the base. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's just the black, it's as you see it in your color sheet that you have. It just says cabinet and base skirt will be painted 2 standard colors, the red being what they're using in the Concord part,
The burgundy.
the school part, the burgundy, and then the black at the bottom. So it's solid black.
What's it,
Brick and
just a
stucco.
brick,
yes,
a
I would
brick
too.
base, like we suggest on a lot of the signs for compatibility with the building, for
I
all
think it
3
would
of
look
the
better for you.
signs for
It would look-
consistency.
because I don't care for the base at all.
Well, it just needs to have some compatibility with some
Of the rest
element of the building. It could be
build-
stucco maybe, since there is stucco in the
Right,
building.
that's
or-
basically it. We've got stucco
brick.
and we've got brick.
Yeah, brick.
One of those would be,
Be better.
The brick would probably last you a little
and it
longer.
would, yeah,
better.
the brick would probably be more long lasting.
Mm-hmm.
But if they wanted to do the stucco, then whatever, but I think it would look much better.
And you'll see as we move to the church signs, one of them is going to have a brick structure beneath for visibility, but they still have the black cabinet that would go on top of that. So I think that whole part's gonna have to be,
Yeah, it changed too.
yeah.
I don't remember that.
Well, when we do it, when we get to the
Oh, we
church ones.
changed it too? Have we changed it? Okay.
Okay.
If I may, I'd like to go back to the logo for just one second. I'm going to ask this to the board. If she had said this was the church logo, how does this affect the sizing of the lettering on the signage? And you need to think about all the logos we see. Does it affect it at all?
One of the guidelines I think we've used in the past as far as letter height has been which type of street it's on. And so the faster the traffic on the street, we recommend a little bit larger lettering, even if it is part of a logo, just because it's a lot harder to, as you're zipping by, to see it.
Right.
If you're on a side street where the traffic's slower, it's a little easier to read. That's been the general guideline.
Well, would that mean that that they would have to increase the size of their signage, if that's the case, in order to, or are they going to change their logo?
We work with them to do that. Most of the
Yeah.
time, we've not had an issue with them having to make it, larger.
Okay.
For
All
the
right.
most part, we work with what they, because, it's financial. They don't want to have to, we don't want them to have to spend a lot more money and all this stuff. So we work with them to try to get them as much possible and still make it look good.
Right, okay.
But we want them to be visible too.
Yeah, because it's not great if there were a couple, and most of them have agreed with us, haven't they? They're like, yeah, because there was one there, and we could not even see it on here.
Mhm.
And the way it was, then it was just like a light bulb went off, like, their purpose for it is to spend the money for people to see their signs. So, I forgot which one it was, but it was like, oh, yeah, I get it.
Any other comments on that, or?
This side? Yeah. Yeah. Because it's
It's
on,
basically on the Bel Air side
yeah.
of the campus.
And that's two-sided. That like,
Yeah, it'd be
that's
two-sided.
like the P part. It looks like a P to me.
Yeah.
It's way in that way.
So are you asking us for recommendations? Did you think this would be approval?
Yes,
or-
based on the size of, as far as
Okay.
height, dimensions,
Okay.
square footage, this fits into the regulations.
I mean, if you all were comfortable with them making revisions based on your recommendations and emailing it, and we can email it to
Right.
you all.
But you
That works
understand what
better
where
for
we're
Yes.
coming from? That
churches.
we're not being that picky. We're just helping you guys out too. To increase it for your visibility. And then the bottom really does need to be changed.
Okay,
So those would be the really
And the
three.
numbers, of course, you've already changed
numbers.
those.
right.
Number height, letter height, and
We have
Base.
the address needs to be 8 inches, so that's double in size. Christian school, we're gonna say 6 inches. And then Concord, make it 10, and then 10 or up.
10 or up, which would you think, Mark?
I don't know, you just have to look at it. I mean, 6 that may be too big. You just have to,
Well,
Kinda-
it needs to be
Fit in that
tweaked a
area.
little bit.
Yeah.
so
it needs
just-
to be larger, but, I think it really ultimately is,
We
we
want it
just
to
have to
look
look
good.
at it, and see.
Right.
just kind of,
Fine with the colors, I'm fine with the font of the text, everything just needs a little bit.
Yeah, it looks
needs to
good.
be a little bigger, just so you can see it coming down Kingston Pike.
Yep.
Probably, did you say, well, you really do need the address, the numbers on the top, because you wouldn't see them on the, I can just vision me driving by there, and I wouldn't notice the number at all on the bottom, but on the top.
Well,
would.
that is a regulation.
Okay.
We weren't aware of that when they first did the drawings, but that is a town regulation that
Okay.
they
You
have
had-
to be on.
We,
It'll be
just so
wide.
you know, we had to do that on our own signs,
yeah.
because the original designer thought it was silly to put them at the top, and we had to change our signs that we're getting ready to reinstall all the way over town with the new logo, with the address numbers at the top, so.
Everybody that's looking, if you're in a different place, the first thing, you're looking at the top.
It's
most of-
because they're
it's-
consistent throughout the
Right. Yeah.
town.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark, I have a question about the numbers on this sign. For square footage wise, those numbers, if they need the space, can't they take the address numbers and move them outside I mean, on the top
Yep,
of the sign,
Or they could actually
those
even put
8
it in the
inches.
center.
They could do that.
I mean,
yeah.
if they really
Mhm.
needed the space to
Yeah, and
make
it wouldn't
the
factor
words.
into your square footage. That's possible, yeah.
Okay.
So some of the signs you'll see, you know, the numbers actually
Right.
are on top. It doesn't count in the square footage too.
Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's something else to, it's
Your
not as
benefit,
visually
If you need it
appealing,
larger,
Right.
and it doesn't count on it.
Okay.
but it's another thought.
Okay.
I don't think you really probably need the space, but
No, I mean, I think they can work within what they have because there is a lot of dead space. There is a
Right.
lot of empty on there.
right.
Especially at the bottom, yeah. You got a lot of
I
room
think
to-
you have enough space.
Yeah.
But I think the black base is all wrong.
Okay.
It's all wrong.
Okay.
Stucco or the brick, and it's.
Yeah, brick on the other one, it'd be nice if it was uniform across the campus.
Mm-hmm.
Would look better, I think. Look a lot better.
Anything else?
What about the landscaping again, that's around this one? Wherever that is it on?
Packet.
It's on the site plan, not the sign plan.
Yes,
Yes.
this is kind of hard to read. So. No. Brenda, is it roses? Is that what I'm seeing?
It's
Or
worth
Nandina's. Ooh.
Nandina's on. What would you suggest?
They're incredibly
That-
easy
I know.
maintenance.
Easy maintenance.
Yeah, and you just cut, yeah.
They're very hardy.
And-
And I think they're actually in
they-
the current sign that's in front of you.
They
And-
are.
And they
Does-
stay low.
Does
and
that
they
plan, Mark,
color
have
all
the
year
placement of
round.
where they're gonna plant them around
No.
the sign? Okay. Are they on both sides?
And what kind of roses? Red roses, the knockout
The-
roses, or just knockouts?
Will they stay low enough to not obstruct the sign?
They'll have to cut
Jenna.
them, the roses. Cut them back.
Should stay low enough.
Yeah. Depends on what kind you get, though.
Okay.
The roses
It's on the
behind
end.
it,
It's behind
Okay.
one sign.
I saw that.
And the others are along the side, but they'll be low and easy to, because you wouldn't want to cover up
Right.
your sign.
Right.
So,
So
okay.
that's only two things, right? That you're basically, so it's gonna be simple. Well, and actually, it's not gonna be that, I mean, it's not gonna need to be massive like, it just needs to be something, some green.
All right, so we're going to approve each of these one at a time. Is there any further discussion on this first one, which is the east entrance to the campus that we've discussed, that has the burgundy on top for Concord Christian School? Any further discussion on that? All right, do we have a motion with and we said three things: letter height, number height, and the base. Do we have a motion?
Well, you said the letter height, meaning Concord and Christian, right? Those two. One was gonna be 8 inches, 1 6. I'm sorry.
Well, just,
Well,
yeah,
Whatever they
more
can.
legible somehow. Yeah, let's see.
Is that the only thing? The illumination was fine.
What
Yeah,
everybody-
it's internally illuminated, yeah. Mhm. Setbacks, fine.
Landscaping's fine. So those are, okay.
All right, so do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve, subject to the address, the letters increasing in size, and the base being compatible with the building.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're moving now to the west entrance sign.
And this would be the main entrance of the church if you're coming to where the sanctuary is.
It's not gonna be the burgundy. It's.
No.
It is, what it's going
This
to
is,
be.
it's like a silver frosted, I don't know
Okay,
if you can tell
So
there.
they're making it to where the Concord School is burgundy and their colors are this. It's a silverish blue. That's the church logo. Okay, okay. So this one was
So
pretty,
generally the same comments
Fine.
again, probably just make sure your lettering's tall enough and the numbers.
Yeah, that,
numbers on top, which she's already done that already, and the base again.
I have a question. Your colors on this one are different. Do
Because
you-
it's a church.
Did you
Because it's
mean to
church.
distinctively make them two different ones?
Yes.
Even though,
And this is the church logo and the church colors.
Okay.
That is Concord Christian School logo and their colors.
They separated them
but the
intentionally.
Concord Baptist Church owns the Christian school?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
I think the square footage of the sign we need to double check that too, make sure it's not more than 40 square
This one
feet.
got corrected. This
Okay.
plan got corrected. Ashley found that in what I had brought the first time, so this one is
Okay.
the correct 40 square feet.
This one that we're seeing right here now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is the largest of the signs. The
Yeah,
other
this
two
one's
are the
taller,
same
right?
size and smaller. It's actually going to be, if you pull in that parking lot right there, we've got the one that's sitting in front of the old sanctuary.
Right,
That's
got it.
going away.
I figured it would, yeah.
This is, if you were to pull in that lot, I'm taking up the first little island, taking the curb out, going through the first parking space, and we will build a brick structure. It's almost 6 feet tall, to then put the 6 foot tall sign on top of it
Okay.
because of the
Oh.
visibility triangle.
Okay.
One other thing on all three of these signs is, of course, the setback verification. I forgot
Right.
to mention that on the first one, but
Okay, well, thank you for explaining it, because I was a little confused.
Because that
about
does drop off quite a bit there.
it. It does.
Look at the section in the middle of this picture, you can see the drop-off in the brick coming up.
yeah, we met with them out there in the field to look at that, and it's a pretty decent grade change.
This is not on Kingston Pike.
It
This
is.
one is.
This one is.
This is
So
the
it's a
main entrance to the
parking lot.
church.
Like,
Mhm.
It's,
Now, on the other side, I believe, as you pull in off Kingston Pike, on the other side, there's a tree. and a-
Yes.
And a light. And that tree, will it obstruct this sign?
It should not, just based on the height, because we're basically going
Lifting up,
6
way
foot
up.
above 6 foot.
Right, right.
So it should,
And that's about a 6, 8 foot, or an 8,
It'll-
10 feet tall tree or something there.
but
probably,
it'll be above that, won't it?
And it's a beautiful tree. I don't want you,
Don't
right.
cut it
but just-
down.
Mark won't let me cut it down.
I'm
It's
not
one of the ones I
suggesting
have to
that.
have.
just placement wise.
Right.
Just something to think about.
And on here, the numbers on this one.
Changed.
I
One on
have
the
7.
See, he's got 7 on this one, so
they'll need to
they
be
need to be
8.
uniform 8.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the address numbers, but yeah.
So
Yeah,
all of that will change when it, yeah.
Yes.
Now, you're going to email us everything after we talk about all this, so
And-
that we don't.
I'll get all these corrections
And he-
made
he-
and send him the
If you
same
email us,
packet.
We'll approve it that way,
Yeah,
since we've
I
already
can just
told
forward you all
Okay.
that.
back next month.
Thank
So y'all are wanting the lettering on that to see if they could increase it a
Yes.
little bit?
Definitely much bigger.
Baptist on here, 'cause
Yeah, it is
he
bigger.
has this one measured
Here.
on here in 3 5/8, and that's tiny.
Right.
So if, just consistency.
Is that what that says?
But to
Says
what
3
you
5/8.
said earlier,
yeah.
that is how our logo is. It is
Right.
significantly, we are Concord.
Right.
First Baptist is considerably smaller on
smaller.
everything we have.
And it still can, I mean, it's going to still be that way, but.
Right.
It still needs to, yeah, be larger.
I'm, just correct me if I'm wrong here. The way I see this as a logo, and I see it as a unit. I don't see it as two separate. I don't see it as First Baptist and Concord being separate, okay? So if you start enlarging First Baptist, you're going to lose the mark that has been designed, okay, and approved by the church. So,
Keep it as a unit.
Yeah,
If you keep it as a unit and you scale it proportionally, you
Exactly.
take the 3 5/8 and you move it to the 4 inches, the Concord would scale up proportionally.
And it still would be.
so you're talking about scaling up
Yeah, we
First
have to
Baptist
scale
and
up
Concord?
everything. Yes.
Yes.
Given the conversation we've had, is this what you're seeing on the sign? Is it proportional to everything else that you have with this logo on?
Yes.
I mean, if we were,
Or is
If we were
this
to look at a
proportional?
letterhead-
No, because obviously they fit this.
For this.
Right,
For
but-
this
purpose,
particular
but generally,
retrofit.
if you had a letterhead with the word Concord on it, and you had First Baptist above it, and you looked at the size of that, did they keep that proportion on here, or did they change that proportion to
They
make?
kept the proportion on here. That's
They
what I'm
always
saying.
have
Like
Okay.
everything on all our logo is
Which is what he's
Concord.
saying, that's the same as your,
As long as we're increasing proportionally, as a unit,
Yes.
yeah, I'm good with
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
If you scale the First Baptist to the 4 inches, but just keep the proportions the same, and
Have-
Concord would move up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
but, you know, that being said, I get what he's saying too. Concord's big on this one, and you don't
Right.
want to make it so big that it becomes
Just-
Right.
seen, I mean.
And of
Yeah,
course, you
very
have you know,
weird.
you've got your population that we would never, ever drop the name First Baptist.
Right.
But then you've got your population that says Concord, Concord Church, Concord Baptist. It's very different whoever you talk to.
I
So,
have a question. The colors in the O, so that that's
Logo.
going to be, right, but it's blue and orange, or is it, it's blue and orange? It's going to be an orange, okay. Or that, again, that's your logo. I just didn't know if it was aqua and,
it's kind of more turquoise, but it's
Okay.
definitely orange. It's
Okay.
an orange, but it's kind of more the blue turquoise than it is. It's not navy.
well, the reason I was saying it, I was just kind of surprised that they didn't pick one of those colors for their school colors, you know, to kind of make everything
Yeah.
blend together, but never mind.
Yeah, that was
Somebody-
before my time too.
That's like,
Anything else on this one?
I don't know, is there any more
no,
discussion
just
on this one?
that they just need
All
to
good?
work on the.
This
height.
one is also internally illuminated with a photo cell.
Okay.
And again, the same thing, the base needs to be
Landscaping.
blah, 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 the brick or
I think
the.
this one had brick base already.
Well, it does,
Brick,
it's,
it
but
has
this
not-
sat on top of the brick.
This sat on
Yeah,
top of the brick.
exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
Because she said that earlier.
okay, gotcha.
So that'd be almost too much brick if you do another 16 inches
Yeah,
on
I'm
top of
almost
that.
thinking that,
That,
So that.
I don't know that that's gonna
could
look good.
see Brick and white stucco.
Stucco. Mhm.
Yeah, white stucco.
Why don't we
and
just
then the
stucco?
sign.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, what do you think about just doing stucco for all of them? So then that would be, because you said the brick and then the stucco, and then that would be okay. So if they're, all the rest of the signs, they're on the bottom.
Well,
would
I
be
agree they
stucco.
should be uniform across the campus.
Yep.
So if they go with the stucco based on
They
this
need to
one,
do
then
stucco
other
for the
one-
rest
yeah,
of
just
them.
I
keep
think you
it
could
uniform.
say it could be brick or stucco, and then
Yeah, I
they could
think
just
they
kind of
can
look and
choose
see
that
which
as
one
long as it's
looks the
compatible.
best.
Because that's gonna be
Yeah.
too much brick.
Has both, so
Mm-hmm.
it would be consistent.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can solve
End up
that by,
replacing stucco before you do
Up in Florida, everything's stucco.
that's
Everything's
probably
stucco.
true.
We've not suggested-
Okay, so this one we need a motion. The other sign, the west entrance to Kingston Pike.
Motion to approve, with the condition of changing the, sign, the numbers and the base and the lettering. Subject-
And the setback.
And the setbacks.
verification.
I keep saying, yes, and the setbacks.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Okay, sign number 3. Now, this one is not on Kingston Pike, so it's on Federal Boulevard,
That's correct.
which is a street that you should be driving much slower on. I said should.
Yes.
Okay, this is on the back.
And Mark, I have a question about this one to begin with. That's not a main street, right? Because they don't have a sign there currently. Isn't that a neighborhood street?
That's correct.
So are they allowed to have a sign there?
Yeah,
Per the ordinance, we can have a sign per each entrance.
they just have to
Does
be
it have to be small?
certain
It has to be-
distances apart.
Have to be smaller?
Oh,
Or
this
in-
is,
No?
This one is the same size as the Concord Christian School. It is smaller than the main
No, it
sign.
is smaller than the main, but.
Yes,
but
and this one
it's-
is not illuminated.
Okay,
That's good.
yeah, that doesn't need to
Well,
be illuminated.
Speaking to
Very
what you
good.
said, I live in that neighborhood, and so I'm driving in and out all the time, and it should be. And you really know what that entrance is already, so you don't really need as big of a sign
Right.
or as big of a lettering and all of that. So you could do that. And this is, well, like you said, this is the same size. I mean, it's pretty much the maximum
So
size.
you are going to make it, keep it the size of the school that's on Kings? the
Yes,
way
this
that-
one is the same size as the school sign, but smaller, considerably smaller than the main sign.
So I have have a question for you. My kids actually go to school there.
Mm-hmm.
And the school traffic is directed in through that entrance. We have to go in that entrance because the other one is blocked off.
Right.
Is there a reason why there wasn't like a split name on these signs to direct people?
That was brought up at one point. You will see in part of the next phase of this, internal exterior signage. Like once you actually get into the campus, that's part of all the rest of this too, where it's the CCS Lionhead directing you that way. So I think they really didn't want to, that Concord Christian School wanted their sign. The church wanted their sign. Because yes, we are all one body, but it's two different entities.
So, going back to the question about the size, are you sold on keeping this size at that entrance, being that that's a neighborhood and because that would be the only comment I would have, speaking of someone who drives in and out of there, that is
Right.
pretty large for considering where it is.
Right. And I'm not sold either way. This is the design plan that was sent to us by a company that we have hired to do this. So
I can see them on Kingston Pike, I can see that, but on where this other one, I really don't see that it needs to be that large.
Well, and my thought too is more of a directional
Less is
sign
more.
for both, because it really is an entrance for the church and the school.
Okay.
And the way that it's used.
Right,
In
right.
my opinion, and Mark, because of the entrance where it is, I don't know what they can have there, because it really is the entrance for two
Right.
things. I don't know how they would put both of those on one sign at that part, but a smaller sign, but more of a directional type sign of, here's where the entrance is to these two. Because at that point, you're in a neighborhood. You have had to know to turn in there.
Right.
To get there, and it's more of a directional, hey, turn here to get into the parking lot at that point.
Not like a.
Not a giant,
Hey,
hey,
this is
turn
where
off
we- yes.
Kingston Pike to
Right.
get in here.
Right.
More of a direction, so therefore it doesn't really need to be as large, is what you're
Right.
trying to say.
Okay.
correct?
Yeah,
And we can certainly look at that.
and maybe something with both names.
And I think
instead
part of it
just
too
one.
was maximizing the regulations of, we can have a sign at each entrance, and this is the max size that it can be.
Right, but also, again,
Right.
less is more a lot of times, and looking at it in a way that too much, and it's just too much.
Right.
And the directional part is your purpose there.
Right.
Whereas from Kingston Pike, it is you want to see and be recognized and all of that stuff. We get that, but on this, it needs to be, in my opinion, smaller.
Okay.
I would feel comfortable with that recommendation if you're comfortable with looking at that.
Talk to
Okay.
them about
Yes,
that again.
absolutely.
You got a lot. I hope you're
And I don't
taking
even
lot
have
of
a pen,
notes.
so-
that's what, you need a pen?
I'm good right now.
Are
I've
you
got it all in
sure?
my brain
I'll
right now.
try to email
Oh,
it to
my
her.
goodness. Well, so far it's
out.
been easy, but this one's just, same thing, it's great. Just
Okay.
needs to be a little smaller for
Okay.
So on this one, we're basically looking at the overall size
size.
and of course, making the base compatible.
And I will take your recommendations to them too about some type of CCS presence there, because that is the traffic pattern. That's how you
That's a
drop
good
off,
point.
and that's how you pick up.
And I know, even at the
could put
beginning of
both
the
on
school
the
year,
sign.
it's a mess through there. I mean, I live on the other side of Kingston Pike.
Right.
And directionally, there needs to be some assistance through that neighborhood, people coming out of that neighborhood.
There are times it gets
help
problematic.
When you're
Yes.
when you're using it, that
Right.
it would help. So
Okay.
using it for their benefit
Has
as
to
well.
have somebody on the board that really has used it to see the problems. And it would be for this purpose or
It
directional
would have
purpose
helped. It
instead
would
of
have helped,
like.
because I was like, I have no idea where I'm going.
Right.
So, it would have helped.
On this one, we'll recommend the overall size be adjusted down, the base be compatible, and the numbers have to be.
Is there some kind of parameter, because obviously, I'm within regulation.
Yes, you
Right.
are.
But is there some kind of size parameter you would like to see?
Well, you're within the regulation, so we're asking if you would be willing to
Okay.
do it. It's not something that
You don't
is
have to be,
required.
but I frankly think that it would be better for you, not,
better for the community
better
and
for
the
everybody.
neighborhood.
Right.
Because, again, less is more, and in Kingston Pike, it's great. On the sides, it's just a little too much.
Okay.
And that's just our opinion, and, you know, again, you're within the regulations and if they want to. But you know as well as I know that they're going to be, if you do, you know, I'll just stop there.
I get the phone calls.
She's laughing too, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean. And directional is the purpose for this particular sign.
Right. Okay.
And you have a lot of directional signage in here, and you have sizes on it. I haven't compared anything, but, you know, think in terms of that, maybe a little bigger than those, but
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
just think that way, since that seems to be the concept here, is the directional sign.
Okay.
Any other conversation on this one? Do I hear a motion? All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve with the recommendation the overall size be reduced to more directional signage sizing, the base be compatible, the numbers, street number be 8 inches, the required minimum, and then as far as the numbers for the First Baptist or the letters for the First Baptist Concord being proportional to the sign that you then would come up with.
Okay.
And the setback verification.
And the setback verification.
It
Keep
is,
forgetting
thank
that.
you.
And do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Gary.
Okay. So now we are with the ordinance amendments. The first ordinance amendment for an awning sign. Find my stuff here. Item number 5.
Okay.
It's after the landscape application and sign ordinance amendment.
I don't think I have any visual of what they're wanting on that, I don't believe.
I'm sorry, Mark, I don't have one.
But as with any text amendment request, you have to look at it not on the basis of some specific drawing or project, but what would be the potential townwide implications for the change. And, of course, our entire sign ordinance is going to be completely changed pretty soon. It's going to have to be because of the Supreme Court's decision in the Reed case. So it cannot have any content-based information in it, and our whole ordinance is based on content, so it's going to have to be completely overhauled. But anyway, this particular sign is not necessarily content-based, but it's more of placement-based, I guess, on certain structures that might be associated with development. So the staff does not support this amendment request because of the larger implications. I mean, the town is, to my knowledge, never allowed signs on awnings. Sometimes they can be tastefully done, but very often they're not so much. So it's a little bit tricky when you start opening it up to
Awning
everybody.
signs back when we were looking at Town Center District.
Could have,
And
yeah.
I thought we were trying to push the idea of awning signs when we were talking about the Town Center
That was
District.
with
I think
the,
we talked about like vertical,
yes.
like, or horizontal signs coming out from
Yeah,
the side.
projecting type
of-
signs that were more pedestrian
That was a little
oriented if you were on
different,
a
yeah, those
sidewalk.
were-
Yeah.
Is there-
Yeah, in the town center. it would be a
Brittany,
little
I
bit-
would ask you, since you go back there every day,
Well,
we're saying awning, but it's not really an awning.
that's what I was just about to ask. We're talking about the underpass.
We're
where you
talking the
drive under and
underpass where you
walk
drop
in,
your
right?
children off.
See, and that was going to be my question. This isn't like your typical cloth awning that you want to put like a printed sign on. This is a concrete structure.
It's a covered
It is a
entrance
covered
into the
entrance.
children's
It's like
building.
I mean, it is a drive under.
Basically a drive-through.
drop-off.
Think
It
of it
is.
like a
It's
bank drive-through.
I'm glad you clarified because I drove back there and I thought, where are these awnings? I don't
It
remember
is not an
awnings.
awning. It is
And-
it's a drive-through, basically, and it completely goes over, and there are two, you walk under it. There's a place, 2 cars can drive under it. You can park next to each other, and actually a third car can almost fit underneath it. It is not a typical, it's not like an
Right.
awning as you would think of an awning. So, I had to think, when I read this, I had to, I had to really think about where this was
Well, and
talking
if
about.
I could explain the reasoning behind why we want to do this. So you can get to, that is the very back of the property that faces the Bel Air property, not seen at all from Kingston Pike. So you can get to that building from both entrances. You can get to it from the west side, you can get to it from the east side. So as part of the total plan, we've got the 3-dimensional letters on all of the buildings except the old flat tops. But the chapel is going to have chapel lettering, the worship center lettering. When you're coming up that hill to go to that building, the only place I would have to put it is on the west side of that building. It would have to be at the very top of the building where a huge, ugly downspout sits there and a tall tree where eventually it's just going to hide my lettering there. So if you come on up the hill, you see the west side of this drive-through. That's probably the better term versus awning. So we want to put Concord Kids on the drive-through on the west side. Also, when you come up the hill from the east side, as soon as you would take a right into the parking lot or the drop-off lane, you would see Concord Kids. That's the school entrance, that's the preschool entrance, that's the children's entrance on Sunday mornings, where if you go to the website, hey, I'm a new visitor, where do I go? They're pointing you towards, if you're a parent, park up here because this is where all the kids' stuff is. So this would just be an identity from either direction that would be right there on the side of the drive-through that says this is the children's building.
It's almost like it's part of the structure. So if there's a way that, it could be
They can make it
identified
part-
as
as
the
part of the
structure,
structure.
not as the awning, because it's built in. And that was going to be my question for this.
It's completely attached to the building.
How is it considered an awning?
About directional and stuff being hard to find. This makes it really easy. It sounds like this is, just a no-brainer.
Well, and I wanted you all to know too, because I think it blows some people's minds that it's grown this much. That this year to date, we have 732 kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Next year, we only have 48 spots left to be at our 850 max capacity. We now have the full-time daycare there, and we currently have 416 preschoolers. And next year, it's already set for 425. So we have 1,200 kids that are coming in that entrance Monday
campus.
through Friday.
Yeah, it's a very big campus. This is logical.
It's huge. And that's why, there needs to be some additional directional, that's why I was saying you all really need to
Right.
push the
Now, what do
school
you mean that it's part
signage
of
Right.
the building?
there. It's built into the building. It's
It's
not just an
attached, like there's no
awning.
break.
It's attached.
If
part
it was
of the
raining,
building
you're going to
structure.
drop your family off there
It's
so
no
they can go
different than
right
if
in the
you
door.
went to a hospital or a hotel or
that's
something
what-
like that, where you drive under and drop someone off. And
And actually, that's a really good, and one of the things in our packet talks about the hospitals. On the side of the hospital entrance, doesn't it say like emergency room or? It's really the same.
so, how did you end up calling this an awning as far as the ordinance? Was that working?
I think
with-
maybe it may have just been how it was all set up, and they were calling it awning because it's not the it's onto the building, but it's not. In my mind, awning is what you said. It's the cloth
Right.
canvas.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you,
Well, I think I've got a solution to this, just in looking at this thing. There's wall and roof sign provisions for churches that are separate in the ordinance. And it talks about, because of the unique architectural elements, dealing with churches that, let's see, it provides for any number of wall and roof signs shall be permitted such signs based on really the functioning of the campus, which is what we're talking about. Such signs shall be architecturally compatible with the building. The VRB shall review and approve the entire sign package for the building. So that, you know, it sounds to me like it's really a building mounted sign.
Right.
And it's just located in kind of a unique spot just because of the way the traffic flows.
Totally, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Nothing can be
you
seen
can't
from
see
the
it
front.
at all.
So it sounds more like you don't really need this amendment. What you need is to
Right,
use a-
we felt
use the
like it was an
wall-mounted
amendment.
sign provision
Yes,
for those signs that you want there.
yes.
It sounds like if you just take that awning out altogether,
That's what confused most of us.
Then you-
We were
then
like-
it's solved.
And like you said, you
Yeah.
drove through and were like,
I was
think
looking
what,
for
yeah, if you could
fabric
just send
awning.
me what you're wanting to do there, because I don't think I've personally seen that sign.
Okay.
It's not in your wall sign
She
package.
has a
I
proposed
don't
sign
No.
here anymore.
Well, the Concord Kids is. It is actually in the package.
It is?
think. Well, it's in the wall sign. That's not.
Yes,
something we're-
correct.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, let me look at that and compare that to the wording, and this might
right
be.
here it is. You want your paper back? Pass that to him, please.
I mean, this
think it's in
may
there.
not be an
It's in
amendment.
there too,
Okay.
Concord
We need to-
Kids. From,
Looking for sounds logical, and I'd be all for it.
just take out the word.
Okay.
Sounds like that'd fix it.
this was, we dealt with this a couple years ago when I said, well, I knew I saw that. It's in there too, Mark, from the old time, from that 4 years ago.
So you may have an alternative solution, but we still have to do something with this amendment provision that you have requested. So I guess our options are, can this be withdrawn, Mark, or do we have to vote on it?
Can we postpone this, or
I
can we?
think the best thing to do would be to postpone action on it until I can get with Ashley and I can get with Amy and make sure we're all on the same page, that she doesn't need a text
I think
amendment.
this
Okay.
is going to be to your benefit.
Okay.
And again, he can email us a lot of this stuff, correct? Because I think you're probably not going to need it.
Okay.
I see what you're talking about here.
Yeah, do you see it?
Part of the canopy, yeah.
They don't, because that's your old papers that you were showing me that I asked you about.
Would you need
It
a
almost would be better, it almost would be more architecturally pleasing if you had a little, kind of a small little monument sign instead of the thing on the canopy. That's
that's-
kind of what
that's a
I'm
good
thinking
idea.
of. Where if you're driving up there,
That would
it's
be a good idea.
adjacent to the building, it's kind of, you know, you'd see it, but it's low to the ground, I don't know, I haven't, maybe I could
Okay.
go up there with you sometime
Okay.
and just look at it.
All right.
That might actually look better than trying to put lettering on that kind of thin canopy band.
Okay, so it sounds like we have some options then for that.
Okay.
So
It's going to be more pleasing to
We-
view once, yeah, that's a good idea.
So Mark, you said if it is part of the church
It's okay.
that you said, and it's a whole package, would we need to bring it back and us look at it, all of it? Or if it's just those on the side that you all have, would it be in?
Well, the way I read that language is that for these campuses, that entire wall signage package is something you look at comprehensively. But normally, the staff can approve them, and we can certainly review the wall signs they've submitted and, give them our, a pretty confident assessment of what will happen with them. But maybe they, along with this sign, maybe could come back and look at it.
Or could you not, just after you guys get together, again, just show us what you came up with to see what we think, and then you can at least.
Yeah, we can
You're
do
going,
that.
and then you can approve it?
Yeah. I mean, by the time she goes through the branding people, it'll probably be next month, so we
Right.
might
Well,
just
either way works for
Very
us,
possible.
but, yeah,
here.
Very possible.
either way works for us.
I don't know,
but
this
if
is a
it's-
pretty high dollar project, so they're chomping at the bit.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
We'll try to facilitate it however we can,
Okay.
all right, well, on this first sign ordinance amendment, 5A, Do we have a motion then? We said to postpone. Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to postpone the action on this particular amendment until the verbiage is corrected. And it's evaluated again by Mark and his staff.
Staff, okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we have a second sign ordinance amendment, item number 5B, talking about directional signs.
Well, this one's got a number of components. You got basically 3 different types of signs they're requesting. You've got 5, I guess, what I call larger signs. And that's what's on the screen there. That would be your primary directional signs to basically identify, you know, very key decision points as you're coming into the campus. Those are shown as 8 square feet and 6 feet in height. And currently, as far as parking lot directional signs, all that's allowed is 2 square feet and 30 inches in height. And that's what you see at other churches in the town. There aren't any, to my knowledge, churches nearly as big as this campus, so this one is a little bit different as far as it has a school. I mean, St. John Newman has a school too, but, you know, you got daycare, you got a lot of different activities going on, a gymnasium, you know, cafeteria, all these things. It's a little bit different. The staff does question whether, you know, we need to think about the number of these signs being requested and then the sizes. I think there's a lot of wasted space on these signs. They might look nice, but 8 square feet, when you get that many out there, it could create a little bit of clutter, in my opinion. Whereas it could be, you know, I guess lowered. This is almost like a ground-mounted sign, you know, in height and everything. So we don't want a bunch of, I don't think we want a bunch of ground-mounted signs all over the campus. I think you could accomplish what you're trying to do with a more modest sized sign.
Just shorten it up a little bit.
Because you have a lot of wasted space in this sign, as you can see here. I mean, there's a lot of dead space on these things.
Well, there's one, if you look at the bottom one, there's one that has 3 on it.
Yeah, that location 22, that's the only one where it uses up all of it.
Them all to fit for that one.
Yeah, they made them universal, but with the exception of that one on 22, they could all be shortened a little bit with the exception of that one.
See, when I looked at them, I was kind of still looking at, thinking that they needed to be this way instead of down. So that's, and I thought, well, maybe if we did that, but I don't know if that would help.
Well, as a person that's directionally challenged greatly, an east, north, west sign would not help me find anything.
Well, I will tell you that verbiage was used because that is what we use all over the campus.
Okay.
Park on the east side of the campus because that's where the gyms are. The sanctuary is on the west side of the campus. So terminology-wise, on our website, on directional things, when you're telling people how to get there,
Okay.
we use north, south, east, west
Well, see,
because it is so large.
I would understand an era Concord kids and an era gathering space, but I mean, when you've got them both there, to me, that's just a lot of confusion. That's just what I would see if I were trying to find my way in there.
Directional, these are actually going to be there to say, these are the parking lots. These are identification markers.
Right.
These are more directional signs.
Yeah, let's look at just these signs right now that's on the screen. That's your 8 square feet, 6
That's the ones
feet in
that-
height.
that-
There's 5 of those. I think on the staff's recommendation on these signs is that they should try to lessen their size
Yeah.
at a minimum. the height and the square footage.
Yeah, so we're saying they're 36 inches. If they go to 30 inches, is that what you're saying is consistent across?
Well, no, I mean, 30 inches is what's currently allowed, and I don't have a real problem, I suppose, with going a little larger, higher than that, but not 6 feet. That's more like the ground
33
outside.
inches is really low in that big of a space. You know, even if you think Tenova, once you pull back in there, their signs are much larger as far
Yeah.
as directional to
Right.
the different buildings. 33 inches, I mean, that's not even 3 foot high. So if you're coming through that parking lot and you're already trying to figure out where the building is, you're not going to see a sign here, or you're in drop off and there's 500 cars. You're not going to see, you get stuck in that, like, where am I? You're not going to pay attention to something that's this high.
Right. I think I was talking about the mass of the sign itself.
Gotcha.
36 and 30. I know you have to have a certain height. I realize that.
Okay.
But that would, to Mark's point, that would allow a little less space on that sign itself.
Can I clarify one thing, Mark? Even though we're looking at these signs here on the screen and in our packet, are these signs are not in our agenda to be approved tonight, is that
Oh, no.
correct?
No, you have
So
to.
this is just
this is all
representative
part
of
the-
what
for
they
the
might
text
want to
amendment.
do
Right.
with the text amendment.
That's
So,
Correct.
so we're not approving
Because of the size.
any of these signs. What we're working on is the text amendment,
Right.
which currently says one ground-mounted directional parking sign per entry exit to a parking lot.
Because
Right.
only wall and roof signs have the prerogative of you all reviewing it, not the freestanding signs. Those still have to meet the current requirements.
So at this point, what we're trying to decide is, should this current ordinance that's in our packet be amended to allow for a larger height?
and higher directional signs, yes. Well, in this case, what we're going to have to call it are accessory signs. We can't really call them directional signs, because then we start talking about content.
Right.
So anytime we change the sign ordinance in the future, it's going to have to be based on the physical parameters of the sign itself, not anything about the message on it. So we
Okay.
can say you can have a campus of 10 acres or more can have so many accessory signs, not to exceed so many square feet in height. And whatever message you want to put on them is up to you.
Okay. So we're making a recommend, as with any sign ordinance amendment, we would then make a recommendation that would then
Planning
move its
Commission.
way up to the Planning Commission.
Right.
That would then move its way to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen,
Right,
where the ultimate decision would be made.
right.
So what we're doing now is making a recommendation as to whether we suggest this be changed or not, and if so, what ideas we have.
What the parameters might be, yeah.
Okay. What size is your campus? Do you know how many acres it is?
250,000 square feet, I can tell you that.
The building.
That's the buildings.
So do you know how many acres the campus is?
I
They
do.
got more than 10 acres.
Yeah,
I can
way
tell you
more.
that.
So what we've have in our packet is
17.
an example of what we're using
30.
in
I
the,
thought it was 30.
Really? 30? Wow.
Okay.
That is big.
What, 30 acre, what's,
30 acres.
Really?
hey, it's a large campus. So
30, yeah.
Are you counting across Bel Air too, like where
They
our
added-
property is over there? I think that's what's put it in 30 is
And it
the
may be
whole
that you
mass.
allocate a certain number of accessory and primary signs based on, and proportionate to the acreage of the property. And it has to be a multiple use property of so many acres. And then, like if you have 15 acres instead of 12 accessory signs, you may have 15. You know, if you got more than, more than, let's say 16 to 20 acres, you can have 18, that kind of thing, to where it's proportionate to the land area.
So
Well-
when you say from now on, we have to change this to say accessory signs instead of directional signs.
You just can't ever talk about the content of the sign
They can
face.
put anything. If they want to say
Anything.
happy birthday Mark on them, they can
Absolutely.
put happy birthday Mark on them.
Absolutely.
If we open it up to how many ever they can have,
All we're talking about is the placement, the size, you can rate the appearance, those kinds of physical aspects. Nothing to do with the lettering that's on the sign. Now, the physical size of the lettering is fine, but not the message.
question then, given that parameter, should when you go to the over 10 acres wording that's in our packet here that says now medical campuses, should what we be considering tonight removing the word medical from that
Well, I
part
think
of the ordinance?
you'd have to in order,
And-
and this is going to take a lot of people thinking totally differently
Sure.
with regards to signage.
I'm saying it would be a little easier to work from that than it would be to work from this other ordinance,
Yeah.
which is clearly for a much smaller campus.
Yeah, you could maybe take some of the provisions in the medical, although we wouldn't be talking about medical.
No,
It would
we'd
just
be
be
removing the word
any
medical.
multiple building campus greater than so many acres can have this many primary signs, this many accessory signs, provided they're this size and spaced this far apart, and those kinds of things. I mean, our whole sign ordinance is based on content, so it's going to have to be completely overhauled, as are most sign ordinances, unfortunately.
Well, this ordinance, I guess where I'm coming from, this ordinance is already in place in the town. It's been used effectively on the campuses that it applies.
Medical, yes. Mm.
So it would be, right, it would make sense to just remove the word medical and let the rest of it stand. But as I read this, I don't see any limitation on the number of signs. It just says that each key decision-making point, you can have a directional sign.
Can you still say parking lot? Can you specify where they are? 'Cause
You
this
can
is-
specify the placement of the sign, yeah, and the spacing between signs, the size of the signs, all those kinds of physical parameters.
On that medical provision, is there a height requirement on that?
6.
6?
To me, those signs are way too big for what they're wanting to do here. But, you know, that's, you know, and that means I would recommend changing the ones for the medical, probably, to lower.
Yeah, it's sort
I
of
mean,
what I was getting at,
I think it's
work from
25
this.
square feet or something, and,
Yeah.
you know, they're
Yeah, it's 30 square feet on here.
30 square feet, yeah. Some of them are, they vary, but yeah, they're, it's a tough thing to consider because you don't want to create a lot of non-conforming signs in an existing facility, but then you got to question whether the current provisions for those type facilities should be applied to this type of setting. To me, they're a little too big for what Concord Baptist is trying to do, or really even wants to do. I don't think they want signs that big.
But from what I understood you to say, we have to make the ordinance consistent for any type of use.
I think
mean, is that
so.
based on
I
the-
think it's going to have to be based on the land area or some kind of physical condition of the property. Yeah, and then just kind of regulate the physical parameters of the signage that you would allow on those properties. I guess the key question tonight is whether you all are receptive to amending the signage in the first place as it would apply to this type of context.
Well, speaking of someone who's driven into this complex before, when I needed to find the gym,
And you couldn't
I
find
went
it?
to the other side of the building the first time and had trouble finding it. So I can understand why you want to have some.
Well, and honestly, we
directional
have
signage.
no signs. Inside the
Right.
property right now, we
Yeah,
have
they
the one
they
church
need
sign.
wayfinding. Yeah,
They
I
need
strongly
something,
believe
and-
that. Yeah,
So
definitely do.
they're large enough that they need something.
And if you go in the wrong entrance, you have to pull out on Kingston Pike.
Mm-hmm.
Because they block it off at certain times because of the school. To
Yeah.
go in the other entrances, it's dangerous if you don't have signs. I mean, they need
Yeah,
for the safety.
Yeah, I totally
of
think that-
going in the wrong entrances and then the back part of it being blocked off because of the school. I mean, they need this, so, I mean, it's
What do
a
y'all
need.
feel about the physical parameters of the signs they're requesting? The size and not thinking about the content, but just the size, the height, the number of signs.
How many all total signs are you
18, I
asking?
believe.
18?
Yeah. We got 5 of these large ones, 10 of the smaller.
Knowing that this is what was proposed by the experts who came and did their study, walked the campus, I'm not saying I'm sold that I need
don't- I think
18
too many-
signs.
I agree. I don't think that's. I
But
think
that
it's
was,
too-
and it was more where, like we were talking about the children's building in the back, you can get to that building from the west and from the
Right.
east. So you've got signs on both sides of that parking lot because it's a big parking lot.
Exactly.
This is the west side, this is the east side. But I'm not in total agreement that we need that many.
And I'm curious why you brought the signs the way that they are here. Like, of course, this right here is this way.
Right.
I was just curious when I looked at that automatically. I'm like, well, why did they have them down? Because you would think that they would have them almost like a flag, like this. And because you were talking about being low, and then that's just going to make it lower.
Right.
When you're reading down, it's easier to read across. I'm just one. So to me, that was another thing that I looked
Felt
at
like
it.
a P, and we're talking about it being
Exactly.
72 inches off the ground. I mean, people can, and pedestrians can walk through here, right? I mean, could just chant, cars clip it, people clip
Oh,
it.
that's true too.
So, I mean, it's 72 inches,
Yeah.
flip it out like a P. I see that
Yeah,
being more
I
of a
see your
tripping
point.
or
Right.
safety hazard.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
And I think their whole point was keeping with the whole
The
premise was the round
curve, the curve.
because of the O in Concord. So
Curve.
the whole thing was based on this.
But that was exactly,
Shape.
because that's the first thing I thought of. Why do they, but you're exactly right. It's.
The number, I mean, it's a big campus. I can't say one or the other. The only thing I'd say is they maybe looked a little too tall, like Mark was discussing at the beginning, to get some of that dead space out of there and shorten it up. Other than that,
Well, and I think that is part of why they even look a little off, because some of the signs do have such dead space.
yeah.
Well, and you can adjust that on your end. I think
Sure.
what we
Yeah,
need to
make
do
the
is
center
decide
like
on the
this.
size. I like the design, honestly.
I do too.
I think it's really nice. And Mark, to your point, if we're talking about B here, I think what you're suggesting, that last paragraph on the page, was to increase it 72 inches, to increase to 8 square feet, right? So really what we're saying is the current ordinance as is too small, at 2 square feet and 30 inches in height.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think on the second page there, he's put the large medical campus building. And that's sort of where I was making my point is, should we even work off of this first page? Because that'd be for a smaller campus. Should
And
we
that
work off
campus,
of
she
the,
already said it was larger than.
Yeah,
yeah.
So larger than 10 acres would be the section 940
So we could qualify them for this by simply removing the word medical.
medical.
we do have an issue of, the only issue I see is the 12 square feet, the actual size of the sign. That would have to be reduced, right?
Right.
And our 30 square feet as far as the entire sign's square feet. So we'd have just to reduce all that to get that to a manageable number for anybody, Concord or the
Or
next person.
anyone else.
Sure. I think that's what we're working from. If we make the recommendation to make those changes within that, take the word medical out, make those changes, then of course, we're recommending that to the planning commission. Then they can do their thing with it.
And tweak it.
And then they can recommend it to the board of mayor and aldermen.
Right.
We'll consult with the attorney and all that stuff, and then it'll finally either be accepted, denied, or
Right.
whatever.
So since B is on our agenda, though, do we have to decline this, or what do we
No,
do
that's
with this?
part of B.
Okay.
That's
right.
all on the same
Okay.
item.
Said and try to, it would be okay for us to kind of come up with some suggestions, right, Mark? So that we can
Yeah.
let this go to,
Yeah.
with your help, we can, what do you think?
So and I didn't look at any ordinances like this from other towns, but we say land larger than 10 acres, but I mean, is there limitations like per acre, a certain number of signs? So the only thing that's in this one is the physical layout of the campus shall determine the total number of signs needed. It doesn't limit the number per acre or per 10 acres or, you know, and we're talking about the number. Is there a way to limit it based on the number of acres or per acre or per square footage of the building? Like she said, you know, there's 250,000 square feet. So, you know, we do wall signs per square footage or maybe per parking space side, maybe per square footage of parking space. You know, I don't know if that's a way to limit so that we're not overdoing the signage.
Yeah.
You know, what is like that, whenever like we have businesses and stuff, we have so many, I know we dealt with that where the size of the building, are allowed so many parking spots. And obviously, they're allowed, what's the,
Well, one comment I can make is when you read point G3, it says the signage shall be at a single key decision-making location.
yeah,
Now, when you think about that, in my mind, a sign that might just be identifying a north parking lot is not a decision, may not be a decision-making location. That would be a split off. I can turn here, I can turn there, I need to go this way in order to get somewhere. That automatically limits the number of signs. Because if your campus is designed in such a way that you only have 5 decision-making points, then you get 5.
So
If you have
that,
10 decision-making points, you get 10. That's one comment in the way I would understand it.
But then that becomes content-based in a way, because it becomes at fault, it's a directional sign.
Well, and I would question too, if it's a multifunctional campus like we have. You know, we run into that because we are you'll see a lot of CCS signs in this package as well.
Right.
So that's identifying on that side of the campus where they're predominantly located. Right now, they're all over the campus. But where they're on that east side, you'll see a whole another thing of CCS signs. So it's hard with it being multifunctional
Right.
to limit that as well. Because, you know, we have like
That's a-
CCS student parking that's in the north section of the west lot, you know?
I think for purposes of this discussion tonight, the real question is whether, because we're not going to solve how to do this tonight. This is going to take a lot of thought.
Right.
And we're going to have to think about how this is going to logically apply. But the question is whether you are open to, I guess, relaxing the physical parameters of accessory signs on a property. Would they make, I'm not going to call them directional signs, but just allowing these somewhat larger internal signs to be on these, you know, larger campuses, whatever we're going to define those parameters. But
I think we're open to that, from what I see.
definitely opening up the
Yeah.
medical.
and you could have maybe we could tailor it toward, you know, you could have 5 8-square-foot accessory signs. You could have 10 6-square-foot accessory signs, and they can place them wherever they want to.
Could we approach it this way and say that we are open to an ordinance amendment for large tracts of land that would allow additional, you know, accessory signs, and we recommend that town staff study what options should be presented in that ordinance amendment, because this needs a little bit more thought and study than we can get tonight.
Yeah.
We recommend that be the next step before we move it beyond the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, this one is going to take a while. I mean, I know they're in a hurry, but this.
Well, and you know I don't mind to be the guinea pig to help with it either.
Yeah, I think we're open to the concept, the idea that they're trying to
definitely need them.
convey, and we all know you need better wayfinding out there. So, yeah, I think that's a
And your
quicker
and it
way
looks
to deal
good.
with it. And we'll just try to. I don't know other communities, to my knowledge, have started really overhauling their sign ordinances to be consistent with the Supreme Court, but we're going to have to do that, and it's, you know, it's going to be challenging.
We kind of knew that a few months ago, though. that we kind of knew that a few months ago when,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
All right, with that in mind, is there any further discussion on this proposed amendment?
well, I have a question though. So you are, the ones so far, you're going to email us on some
On
of
the
the.
ground mounted signs, the
ground-mounted
signs that are
signs.
allowed, yeah.
These, we're going to put on hold.
No, I think what I was trying to say is we're making a recommendation to support amendment ordinance change.
Okay.
However, it needs to be studied further by the town staff so we can come up with an appropriate,
Yeah.
you know,
And we'll
ordinance
probably, and
amendment.
we'll have to bring that back to you.
Right, so in other words, they're
For
not
the
gonna be able to do
significant.
any of these until.
Till an ordinance
get
amendment
this done.
happens.
But the biggest part, those three, you're okay with, and they can start on the, well.
Yes, and
as
we've
soon
also
as-
submitted building-mounted signs that I
Right,
guess they're
and
looking at
so
too. So phasing it's
this-
perfect. Anything's going to be better than what we have.
Yeah.
So if it has to come a little at a time,
But hopefully we'll, there
Right.
won't be, you know, we're on the right direction, you know where it is, and, okay, that's what I just needed to ask.
All right, well, based on what I have said there, let me make that motion. So we don't have to repeat everything. Does anyone second that motion?
Oh.
Motion?
We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
thank you. I appreciate you all.
Thank you so much. I knew this was gonna be one of those.
We're going to back up on the ground-mounted sign applications and go back to the ones that we have already, that we passed over before, and back to the very beginning to the Water into Wine Bistro.
Let's see.
Water into Wine
Water
Bistro.
water
As soon
and
as we,
wine.
yeah, we've got to shuffle everything back to that point, so no rush.
All are.
Here,
I'm going to find it myself.
hopefully the rest of these will be pretty.
Gonna be
Water into
fast.
Wine, okay.
Yep, it's taking a while.
Way back there.
The Farragut Village.
Ah.
I thought it was cute too. The little corkscrew. Thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
All right,
I thought that they would have those
Yeah.
different colors. I thought that when I looked at that, I thought that they would have the wine bottle as a red and the corkscrew as a red just to bring it out.
this sign, yeah, basically, I mean, the only comment the staff has is just whether the bistro and lounge is, I mean, it's very small.
I don't think they really care because they know that people are going to.
I mean,
Fine.
water into wine, if water into
No,
wine
what
gets
is-
the message across, then, you know, that's up to you all. It looks good, the panel looks nice, you know. It,
Like the sign.
I think it's fine.
okay.
A little bit of color too, add some
Little pop. That's
Yeah.
the reason.
pop and a little bit of interest and a little bit of, even if you couldn't read it.
And I
adds
think
a
their
little-
wall sign does have bistro and lounge in there, I believe. I'm not
Plus, you know,
positive.
it's not a liquor store, it's actually a bistro.
All right, anybody else on that one?
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we're down to item B, which is off-Broadway shoes. That one, we got an amendment.
Yeah, they took the
Different
word
from
warehouse
what's
out of it, so
Okay.
what's on the screen is what they're proposing, that's the latest.
Oh, that looks much better.
I think that
Oh,
is
gosh,
very
yeah.
readable.
And the staff does,
Their suggestion, or did they just, okay.
Yeah, I'll wait
Is
till
that
I ask
warehouse
them
just
to-
really,
yeah.
that much?
It's not on their wall sign, they don't have
Oh.
warehouse, so we recommend approval of this.
Motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so Lonnie Jones Allstate.
And this is another one, staff recommends approval of this, they're just changing it to reflect their logo.
Pretty legible.
Yep.
Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we're at item F, Little Turkey Creek Commons, which looks like the former item G and item F kind of go together.
Yeah,
It's like the
these,
signs are the same, almost.
yeah, same owner, property owner. Staff's comments on these were, you know, of course, the boxiness of the signs. We do need to get a detailed site plans to scale for these and an acceptable landscape plan. We don't have anything other than what's on the screen there. And then, of course, the base, similar to what we asked Concord Baptist to do, the base of these two signs needs to be, you know, some kind of material compatible with the buildings that they're serving. This is just an aluminum pedestal, and, you know, we would not support that. So they do need to go back to the drawing board in terms of the staff's opinion of this sign.
That background for any.
Yeah, it's a
They-
little different, yeah.
Okay.
They've got
They
some,
know that
well, I think
The
the
background
panels,
should be
yeah,
all the same.
Exactly, that was what bothered me.
yeah, I agree that they
That
all
it-
need to
it-
have the same color
They need
background.
to, okay.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only one on, it looks like they did both of the two, and that's the only one with the black.
I didn't know
So,
if they did that was because they had most of the building there or what, but anyway, it still needs to be compatible to.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions on this sign? This is the first one for the,
Talking about the box itself, not any of the panels.
well, that's a good question.
Box itself that the panels sit in, I think, is ugly as sin.
I agree with you.
I mean, it looks.
They're gonna
it
have to
looks
go
like
back
something
to
out of
the
a
drawing
1980s
board.
shopping center.
Panels generally come individually, right?
They can be approved all at one time, and that actually makes sense, but in this case, they've got some issues with the box itself, I think.
It's ugly.
Yeah, it's,
The color of it in general, like I mean, if they use the metal top and
Yeah.
around it, I mean, that shopping center is that color. I mean, the stucco on the outside of it is that light tan color.
And we suggest they start over.
I don't think all the red,
It's just bad.
yeah.
Nothing good. And, well, yeah.
And
Yeah, I
in-
think they need to totally redo it.
It's like some 1980s strip mall somewhere. I mean, it's just.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's what
it's-
I was trying to think of,
yeah,
and it's
just,
exactly.
It looks so old and dated.
Because, you know, you can recommend to deny it as presented, and it'll be formally denied, and they'll have to.
thought went into it at all.
It's just
They
like they
all
just threw it
stuck
up
their
there.
name up there.
Yeah, the comma's not even right on Marco's.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I don't know.
And I mean, the red font.
Yeah.
There's everything's just, there's nothing, I think we
I
said
think
it
it's pretty
all.
clear.
We just need to
Does
start
anybody
all
want to make a
over.
motion on this?
It's just,
yeah, who wants to make a motion on this one?
I make a motion to start over.
A motion to deny. Do we have a second on that motion? Ever say aye? Aye. All right, item G is basically the same thing as item F, so do we have a motion on item G as well?
start over.
I make a motion to deny.
Same, oh, where is he?
Go for it.
I'm
And
sorry.
he'll,
To deny.
Motion to deny. Do we have a second?
I second.
Ever say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
oh,
That's what
All right.
used to be.
Okay.
gosh.
Thing.
Oh, I didn't even
Jumped
notice
around. I
that.
think it was it.
That mine or yours?
I
That's,
think it's mine. I think we've checked everything off, so.
Did. Good job.
oh, gosh.
All right.
I said 9 o'clock.
Good. 8:45.
Do, the sheriff's office?
Oh, no, oh,
Those are the
wait.
wall-
Those
those
were
are the
wall
wall
signs, the wall signs, we didn't have to. Well, we still, so,
Okay. Yeah, looks like we have
Fred, that was a
everything, so
great
we'll,
one.
we'll
'cause
end
I-
this month's meeting.
All right.
kept thinking they needed to do the P, and I'm like, why did they not? So that was perfect, because people would knock the heck out of it.
That's right at pedestrian level, it'd be smacking that thing
They
over.
would be smacking, because, yeah, very good point.
Run into it.
Isn't it, we make a good team. We bounce